Hey guys, it's Paul from Team APS. So I'm going to be showing you guys the Dark Magician deck that I used in our Dark Magician versus Hero theme duel, and likely we'll be using in the Dark Magician versus Blue Eyes theme duel that's coming up as well. Both over on the main channel. Check that out if you haven't already. So we're going to hop right into this. A couple of quick words. This deck is a lot of fun. It's a very good legacy deck. A little inconsistent, a little luck reliant, but a good time when everything's working. This is meant for a theme duel, so I'm not really running any competitive cards. You can make a more competitive version of this deck if you guys want to see. Kind of something that I might take into a tournament. Let me know in the comments, and I can consider making that. But these cards are all more so for fun, more so for entertainment. Okay, so 3 copies of Dark Magician himself, in the matching art, of course. I love this card. It's a really cool, just original vanilla monster, and he's one of those old monsters that you don't mind running as much because he actually is necessary for every component of the deck. Unlike something like maybe Cyber Dragon or even necessarily Blue Eyes, you do need to see him. And I feel like you could probably get away with running 2 or something, but 3 is just better. Also, Dark Magician Girl. I'm running the Dark Magician Girl stuff. I thought it would be more fun for the theme duel. Do not run this if you're ever running this deck seriously. She is not very good, but you need her for a couple of cards that come later. Anyway, Magician's Rod. So this is the quintessential searcher card for this deck. You get a Dark Magician spell or trap card. You cannot search Eye of Timaeus with it, unfortunately, but you can get pretty much anything else. Also, if this is in your grave, during your opponent's turn when you activate a spell card or effect, or a spell or trap card or effect, you contribute a spellcaster you control to add this card to your hand, and that can come up every now and again, so it's just something to keep in mind. Because this is so important to normal summon and you don't have that many other normal summons in this deck, that recycle effect can be everything sometimes for getting you new cards to use each turn. So yes, definitely a good one. All right, and now for where the money in this deck comes in. Magician's Souls. Don't buy this. I mean, I'm sorry, this card's worth way too much. If you were lucky enough to pull it, good for you, but thanks to spirals and a bunch of other things like short prints, this card is very, very, very pricey. And yes, the deck is helped by it, but if you want to enjoy Dark Magicians, I think you don't actually have to have it. Anyway, though, with that out of the way, you can send a level 7 or level 6 or higher spellcaster monster from your deck to the graveyard to summon it from your hand, or to just send this to the grave and summon that monster from the graveyard. When this is on the field, of course, you can send spell or trap cards from your field or your hand to the graveyard up to 2, and then you draw that many cards from your deck. This is huge for like setting up a lot of your plays. You want to send, of course, Dark Magician most of the time, but you can also send Dark Magician Girl, especially if you want to get a few more draws off of things like Soul Servant, which I'll talk about later. When it's on the field, you can use its draw effect, and that's very helpful. And after that, you could turn it into something like Link Karibo, or use it as link material for a couple of other things that I'm running. So yes, all $400, however much it's worth. Next, 2 Apprentice Illusion Magicians. These can be summoned from your hand by discarding any card, and when they're special summoned, whether it's by that effect or another, you will search Dark Magician from your deck to the hand. It's helpful because it does let you see Dark Magician. The thing is, Dark Magician in your hand alone isn't always worthwhile. You still need some traps and spells and stuff to make it useful, but still it's deck thinning and it's good. And then you can also use it to boost the power of any of your dark spellcasters when they battle. You can send her from your hand or the field to the grave and give it 2,000 attack. And that boost, while not like relevant all the time, can be still a pretty big deal. I think the coolest addition they could have made to her was maybe making her name be treated as Dark Magician Girl in the grave or on the field. That would be great, but they didn't, so. Oh, and I'm also running 1 Magician of Dark Illusion. I was just trying to kind of be a completionist here. I don't think you really need to run this thing, but if you use a spell or trap in your opponent's turn, you can summon it, and once while it's face up in the field, when you use a spell or trap, you can summon a Dark Magician from your graveyard. It's also treated as Dark Magician while it's in the field, so it will trigger cards like Circle, and it will work with things like Dark Magic Attack. It'll be protected by Eternal Souls, but it's just oftentimes kind of a dead draw. I don't think it's necessarily like needed. And 1 Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. Since you don't have very many normal summons in this deck, I figured I could fit this guy in. He gives this deck a lot of draw power by searching secrets and then knowledge, so it's pretty good. If you don't see Rod, he's a good summon to have. On to the spells. Triple Dark Magical Circle. Beautiful card, though very simple. When you activate it, you get to look at the top 3 cards of your deck. If there's a Dark Magician or a spell or trap that lists Dark Magician in those 3 cards, you can add it to your hand and then put the others on top of the deck in any order. So that's really helpful, especially now that we have cards like Soul Servant that will be drawing specific stuff. And, it can be really useful to use, especially with our other draw cards as well. Now, the other effect is where this thing gets really helpful. Whenever you summon a Dark Magician to the field, normal or special summon, you can target and banish a card your opponent controls. So this is Dark Magician's form of removal, and unfortunately it's got a hard once per turn on that, but still, it's a good card, and you will need to try to trigger it in both people's turns to get the most out of it. Next, triple Soul Servant. So, Soul Servant is a new card. It lets you place a card on top of your deck that lists, from your GUI or deck, that lists Dark Magician in it. So, a little bit better than Magician's Rod in a way. You can actually put Magician's Souls on top of your deck and then banish this card from the graveyard and draw cards equal to the number of Dark Magicians and Dark Magician Girls that you have in your field and grave. So you can draw up to 2. It doesn't count duplicates of them. And Palladium monsters, but we don't run any of those, obviously. This is good. This deck stacking ability is nice. It's a good reason to run Dark Magician Girl. It can synchronize pretty well with some of your other draw cards, so it's nice. And speaking of draw cards, 2 Spellbook of Secrets, 2 Spellbook of Knowledge. This is mostly just to work with the Spellbook engine. This searches Blue Boy searches Knowledge. It sends him, you draw 2, it's a +1, it's great. Knowledge can also work with your other spellcasters as long as they're in the field, but with Knowledge, you can actually use Spellbook cards in your hand. So all in all, a very good little draw engine. This deck can draw quite a lot of cards, but can still feel a little luck reliant. Some one-of Dark Magician cards. Dark Magic Attack for destroying all your opponent's spell and trap cards. Secrets of Dark Magic. This is the fusion and ritual spell. It's a quick play, which means that you can attack with all of your monsters and then activate this fuse and then attack with your new monster, which is very fun. You can use cards from your hand or field, so that's really nice. And it's searchable, so not a bad card. I don't run any rituals, but maybe I can make a build of this that does. Illusion Magic. Tribute a spellcaster, get Dark Magicians from your grave or your deck to your hand. You get 2. And 2 Dark Magic Inheritance. Normally I would probably only run 1 of this, but since it's a theme duel, I'm trying to stay more on theme. You banish 2 spells from your grave and add a spell or trap that lists Dark Magician from your deck to your hand. And that comes up a lot. So those are all useful. Next we have some cheeky fun techs. A bond between teacher and student and Dark Burning Magic. So if you have a Dark Magician, you can activate bond between teacher and student and special summon a Dark Magician Girl from your hand, deck, or GUI, and then you get to immediately set one of, Dark Magic Attack, Dark Burning Magic, Dark Magic Twin Burst, and Dark Burning Attack. So one of those, you get to set them, and it's really fun. This is all very inconsistent, but if you ever do get to resolve Dark Burning Magic, you can destroy all cards your opponent controls by having Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl on the field. Don't run these in a normal Dark Magician deck, but they're fun for theme duels. Next, we've got some cheeky fun stuff like the Eye of Timaeus, which can just summon the Dark Magician Knight or Dark Paladin very easily for you. This is not searchable by any of the cards that say search a spell that lists Dark Magician in its name, because it says Dark Magician Monster, not Dark Magician. It sucks. That's the ruling. Don't ask me. I didn't make it. That's just how it works. That's why I only run 1, because it's not searchable and you really would not want to brick with multiple copies of this card. Dark Magic Veil summons a Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from your hand or your graveyard, and it doesn't target, so if your opponent were to banish your card, you could still use this. Foolish Burial. Usually I use this actually to send Dark Magician Girl to the graveyard to set up Magician's Combination, but you could also send Dark Magician if you wanted to. Traps. Magician's Navigation. So you special summon a Dark Magician from your hand and then a level 7 or lower Dark Spellcaster from your deck. You could summon another Dark Magician. You could summon a Dark Magician Girl. You could summon an Apprentice Illusion Magician and then search another Dark Magician. You could summon any number of things. But that's how this works. The more useful effect, honestly, if this is in your graveyard while you control Dark Magician, you can banish it and negate a spell or trap that your opponent controls. So this is really great for just negating normal spells that they would activate. It actually provides this deck with a measure of control while you've got Dark Magician in the field. But you can't use it the turn it's sent to the graveyard, so going first can actually be pretty detrimental here. Even if you set this and activate it in your opponent's turn, you won't be able to use the negation effect, so it's a little annoying. New card, Magician's Combination. Normally would not really recommend running 2, but I ran 2 for the theme duel. If you have a Dark Magician or a Dark Magician Girl on the field, you contribute them to negate a card effect from your opponent and then summon the opposite one. And if it goes from the field to the grave, you get to destroy a card in the field, and that can work really well with Magician's Soul. Eternal Soul. I love and hate this card. You summon a Dark Magician from your hand or grave, or search a Dark Magic attack or whatever. It protects your Dark Magician, specifically just Dark Magician, from your opponent's card effects. But if this leaves the field, all your monsters get nuked. So, play it at your own risk. The reason I ran 2, 2, and 2 of these spells and traps is because seeing this too much sucks, especially against heroes because they have Stratos. So, alright, I'll quickly go through the extra deck. Only some of these are really important. The Dark Magicians, this is the new thing. When a spell or trap's activated, you get to draw a card. If it's a spell or a trap, you can set it and activate it that turn. If not, it just goes to your hand like normal. When this dies, you summon Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl from your hand deck or grave, but you have to summon both. So if you can't summon both, you can't do anything. It kind of sucks. Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight, and Dark Paladin are both for Io Timaeus. If you can get this set up with like Circle and Eternal Soul, it protects them, so that's really good, and it's considered Dark Magician, so it gets the protection. Dark Paladin is very old, but he's just fun to have for nostalgia's sake. It can negate spells by discarding cards. Ebon Illusion Magician, probably the only Xyz you'd really reasonably go into. It can summon a Dark Magician from your deck. Whenever your normal spellcasters attack, you can banish a card, so that's nice. Ebon High Magician lets you use spell and traps in your opponent's turn by detaching, and then if he goes, you can pop a card, so that's nice, and then summon a Dark Magician. Big Eye is actually a dark spellcaster, so it can get some of the small little protection effects that your monsters provide, but you usually won't be making a lot of extra deck stuff in here. Crowley can actually let you summon Dark Magician, just normal summon it without tributing, and it works because you run some spell books, so you can use its effect. Wee Witch's Apprentice, obvious. Link Rebo for souls, and that is the Dark Magician deck. So hopefully you guys liked it. Remember, this was just for fun. There are a lot of changes you can make if this is a more competitive build, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys check out the theme duel. I hope you guys subscribe to both channels, of course, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Pass turn.